In 2001, the BBC broadcast a new type of sitcom that at first glance wasn't obviously a comedy. It was a hit with critics and viewers who recognised the various types of people they worked with in real life. It made a star of its creator, Ricky Gervais, but nobody's perfect. A few years after that UK series ended its short run, the unthinkable happened. America. It's The Office. In the 1990s, British TV was awash with droll, fly-on-the-wall documentaries, with camera crews following the staff of so many places of business that the UK economy was then evenly split into two groups: people who were the subject of a fly-on-the-wall documentary series, and the film crews who made fly-on-the-wall documentary series. Ricky Gervais and creative partner Stephen Merchant pitched a series to the BBC.
Let's grow ourselves a big, lanky, goggle-eyed freak.
All right, calm down, mate. There's no need to get offensive.
No, I was not joining in.
Call you fatty as soon as
All
I
right,
saw you.
I was joining in with what? No.
Which wasn't the first or last comedy to use the conventions of a fly-on-the-wall documentary.
She said no, by the way.
In this, Gervais would star as an insufferable boss of a paper merchant, Werner Hogg, located in a bland office park in dreary Slough in London.
Right. You're not going to lose your job. You're not going to lose your job. You know, you're not going to lose your job. So, let's get it in perspective, yeah?
Gervais's character, David Brent, deluded himself that he was some kind of entertainer rather than the branch manager of a small paper merchant.
You went home to get it.
Spaceman came down to answer some things.
And he was not very good at either role. He's insufferable, incompetent, insulting, and his shenanigans would almost always fall apart, leaving the viewer to cringe at a show full of uncomfortable silences.
I've never stolen as much as a paperclip and you're firing me.
And the good news is, I don't need to give you any severance pay because it's gross misconduct. So you can go straight away.
You wanker.
In short, he's a complete twat, redeemed only by the fact that he's clearly sad about where he was in life. Are we still talking about David Brent? The documentary style allowed people to address the camera directly, which provided excellent scope for comedy and a better idea of what the characters were feeling. They might have to suck it up in real life, but they could express themselves to camera with some form of honesty, even if it was unconsciously so.
If you want the rainbow, you've got to put up with the rain. Do you know which philosopher said that? Dolly Parton. Yeah. And people say she's just a big pair of tits.
David Brent's sort of sidekick was the completely obnoxious Gareth.
Gareth Keenan, Assistant Regional Manager.
Assistant to the Regional Manager.
Just a clueless but intense pain in the arse, like fresh hemorrhoids having a housewarming party. There's Tim, played by Martin Freeman, whose playful relationship with receptionist Dawn masked his feelings for her. Those feelings were sort of reciprocated, but Dawn was also already engaged to Lee, who worked in the warehouse below. Awkward.
My job is to speak to clients on the phone about quantity and type of paper, and I'm boring myself talking about it.
Tim and Dawn are the everyman, everywoman characters that you're meant to empathise with most. They have the dreams of doing something grander, but both are too timid to take a risk. Viewers recognise themselves in the characters, or got caught up in the Tim and Dawn relationship, or were just shocked and appalled at how David Brent ran his office. The Office ended after just 14 episodes, with Gervais and Merchant moving on to eventually create Extras, reviewed here. Then American television came knocking.
That's what she said!
TV channels often import TV shows from other countries and screen them, but what's also common is licensing a format to make a local version of a show. This is how come you have different versions of Big Brother around the world. Thanks a lot, format licensing. Successful comedies and dramas have also been licensed this way for decades, which is why there are oddities like Are You Being Served in Australia? There were various versions of The Office made around the world, usually tailored to local audiences and in the local language. So why not America? There have been many examples of UK comedies that were licensed and developed for an American TV audience. There's this, and this, and this, and so on. But those are just the successful ones. We'll forget about American attempts to do this, or this. In fact, the antipathy in showbiz circles in Britain towards terrible American versions of British originals was satirised brilliantly by the UK-US co-production Episodes, also a really good show in its own right. As for the failed US version of Coupling, well, that was actually quite faithful since the UK version was also smug and god-awful.
There are things that I will never laugh at.
The Office, however, was one of the few non-reality formats in the 21st century to buck the lost in translation trend. Talent agent Ben Silverman saw the first series of The Office in the UK, and it was he who got the ball rolling on an American adaptation, with Gervais apparently in two minds about bastardising his baby. On the one hand, the deal stated that the US pilot would have to stick pretty closely to the UK version of The Office. On the other hand, David Brent, Life on the Road.
There are things that I will never laugh at.
Greg Daniels, the former executive producer of animated comedy King of the Hill and a writer on The Simpsons, was brought in to develop a US version, a show that, unlike most of its contemporaries, would have no laugh track, no audience, and be filmed with a single camera. At the time, network television was awash with unscripted shows such as Survivor, Amazing Race, The Apprentice, etc. So viewers were used to seeing events and incidents and then cutting to one of the participants for their reactions.
So I guess that's how they're gonna play this. It is on. It is so on.
The original UK version of The Office had come out of nowhere, with an unknown cast, and some viewers had mistaken it for an actual documentary series.
I think the main difference between me and Donald Trump is that I get no pleasure out of saying the words "you're fired."
The US show wouldn't try and change that, even going so far as to hire directors and camera operators who'd worked on reality shows like Survivor. Watching the UK and US pilots side by side shows just how much developing is required to take a format and tailor it for your audience.
I'll have to let you go first.
What? Why?
What? Why?
Why? Stealing.
I can't believe this. I mean, I've never even stolen as much as a paperclip, and now you're firing me.
US network NBC, a comedy powerhouse throughout the 90s, was about to see both Friends and Frasier finish up, and with their comedy cupboard looking bare, they ordered a pilot. Daniels then assembled a cast and crew and set to work. Instead of dreary Slough on the outskirts of London, the US office is situated in dreary Scranton, Pennsylvania. The regional manager is Michael Scott, played by Steve Carell in his first starring role after appearing in supporting roles on The Daily Show and in the movie Anchorman. Scott is the character who possibly changes the most from the original conception, becoming less of an asshole like David Brent and more of a buffoon.
I am not to be truffled with.
Somewhat egotistical, unfiltered, superficial, often inarticulate, but not a complete moron.
You have a bad imagination. It's stupid. I live in a fantasy world.
But certainly enough of a moron.
Should, maybe, but shorn't.
Michael, please.
What part of shornt don't you understand?
Michael Scott has the emotional intelligence of a child, and not a very smart child. He wears his heart on his sleeve.
You do make a bigger deal out of things than you need to. You proposed to me on our 4th date.
I know what I was thinking at the time, but right now it just seems ridiculous.
This means his moods reduce the productivity of the office. Also, his need to create distractions reduce productivity of the office. His attempts to increase productivity generally reduce productivity. The guy's a mess. I mean, come on.
For those of you who are thinking about fixing me up with any of your friends, use the woman on page 85 as a template.
Michael is unpredictable, but predictably so. Most of his staff seem to know how to wrap around their fingers. He doesn't like conflict or making difficult decisions, and he's a serial procrastinator.
You think it's easy?
It's your job.
Okay.
But even when he's being a pain in the ass, his heart is usually in the right place. He loves his job and his staff. They are his family. Even when corporate is dogpiling on him, he stays loyal to the company. Everyone wonders why he's the boss and how come Scranton is successful.
I'm trying to figure out the last time that you and Jim had sex. And
Let's just get this over with, shall we?
10 months?
The only time Michael is ever shown as having some form of natural skill is as a salesman, so you'd have to assume that the people buying paper are even dumber than he is.
People underestimate Michael. There are plenty of things that he is well above average at. Like ice skating.
A big driver of plots and comedy in the show are Michael's schemes for distraction and fun unraveling in the most embarrassing way possible. Watching Michael fall apart when confronted with problems of his own making
Hold on, they're lithium!
is the show's unique selling point.
Don't you ever talk to me that way. You pathetic, short little man. You don't have any friends or any family or any land.
It's embarrassing, it's cringeworthy, but it's hilarious.
You don't really toss the dough.
Try to destroy the old ways, Gabe. I will not let you.
Michael Scott is a lonely man, without close friends and family, and really he just wants people to, if not love him, then that would be ideal, then at least like him.
I bought this for myself, and yesterday they gave me this. I still need something to drink out of, though.
Scott is childlike, naive, an idiot.
You have a major self-destructive streak in you. And you kind of torpedo every romantic relationship you're in.
That's not true.
The smartest person in the room, if he's the only one in it. Michael likes to think he's a business guru.
Ryan has never made a sale, and he started a fire. And everybody thinks he's a tease. He doesn't know anything, and neither do you.
Michael doubles down on his cluelessness
I'm Prison Mike!
by trying to give lectures on the very thing that he himself is guilty of.
How do you know Michael Klump?
Because it's your making fun of fat people character.
Michael has a catchphrase.
That's what she said.
It's meant to be the sort of obvious, dumb, dirty joke that most officers are notorious for.
You already did me.
That's what she said.
But here it takes on a life of its own.
I want you to think about it long and hard. That's what she said.
Dip it in the water so it'll slide down your gullet more easily.
That's what she said.
Oh, no, not that.
As Michael is unable to resist dropping it into a sentence.
I need 2 men on this. That's what she said. No time. But she did. No time!
Even at the most inopportune moments.
And you were directly under her the entire time?
That's what she said.
Excuse me?
That's what she said.
Jim Halpert is the guy that you sympathise with. He's the handsome scruff, fairly laid back, but also a reasonable guy that everyone thinks is based on them. He doesn't really care about selling paper for the rest of his life, but he seems fairly good at it, and he's recognised by corporate as having his head on straight.
That's what she said.
Jim is friends with Pam, the receptionist, and although she's engaged to Roy from the warehouse, oh my god, this sounds familiar, Jim and Pam playfully conspire to prank certain co-workers.
I took a box of Dwight's stationery. So from time to time, I send Dwight faxes. From himself. From the future.
A big continuing narrative in the early seasons is the will they, won't they get together scenario.
Just because 2 people are hanging out, it doesn't mean that they're together. You know? Like, people can just be friends.
As the show continues and Jim's life becomes more real, he takes work a lot more seriously, often trying to talk down his co-workers from outlandish or even dangerous ideas, but never loses sight of the fact he was put on this earth to make Dwight's life difficult.
I have just convinced Dwight that he needs to go to Stanford and spy on our other branch. No. But before he does so, I told him that he should dye his hair to go undercover.
Pam Beasley is stuck in a dead-end job in a dead-end paper company. She makes several attempts over the years to get out of her rut.
That's what she said. That's what she said.
And eventually becomes a salesperson. She is the show's heart.
Usually the day we talk about sexual harassment is the day that everyone harasses me as a joke.
My mother's coming.
That's what she said.
Unlike most of the other characters, she will pull back to avoid hurting her co-workers' feelings.
What? I'm not in love with her.
Pam is the one to comfort people in a human way, rarely going for the comedic jugular when somebody's down.
Apparently no one dresses up for Halloween here. And I can't even take off my hat because then I'm Hitler.
As Jim and Pam settle down in life, the series takes away their superpower to be above it all and puts them in difficult positions, like Jim coming up against a boss who doesn't like him, or Pam trying to better herself through a graphic design course, moving into sales.
And I doubled my sales last month.
Oh, really? From what, 2 to 4?
Yup.
Or office administrator, or outside people trying to destroy their relationship.
I've been recommending downsizing since I first got here. I even brought it up in my interview.
And then there's Dwight Schrute.
I'm assistant regional manager. I should know first.
Assistant to the regional manager.
Dwight is the character that makes Michael look like a normal human being. Dwight is intense, intelligent, but an oddball.
I suppose I could do it if it was a controlled burn in a well-ventilated area.
Yeah, but you're gonna need a permit for that.
Oh, right. That'll take a couple of weeks.
He comes from a family of Pennsylvania Germanic beet farmers and still runs the family farm with the help of cousin Mose.
Put the manure down! Put it down! Do not throw it!
Dwight likes to make out how he's better at everything.
That's what she said.
He's reluctant to get past his long-running rivalry with Jim and not so overtly worships Michael Scott for much of the series.
I'm not nervous in front of them. They're my subordinates.
No, we're not.
Yes, you are. I am assistant regional manager.
Which means absolutely nothing.
Michael, can you explain?
Well, it's mostly made up.
Dwight is probably the single character that keeps the show from becoming a predictable and cozy workplace comedy. Rainn Wilson took an odious and obnoxious character and made you love watching him despite his mercenary, self-aggrandizing ways.
You have the right to remain silent. You have the right to beg for mercy. You have the right to request judgment by combat. Dwight's rights.
Dwight is the best salesman.
That's what she said.
Almost always sure of himself.
And I did not become a Lackawanna County volunteer sheriff's deputy to make friends. And by the way, I haven't.
And his main weakness is his desire for authority types to like him.
It's firm.
And for Michael Scott to be his friend.
245 behind the building, paintball.
The other characters begin more as archetypes, but thankfully most are given chances for us to learn more about them throughout the years, even if it's usually for comedic effect. As the show goes on and the main character's edges are softened, the supporting characters carry a lot more of the jokes.
We are a family here. And Phyllis is a valued member of that family, like a grandmother.
I'm the same age as you, Michael.
Well, I don't know about that.
We're the same high school.
Well,
Phyllis is the frumpy salesperson who went to high school with Michael. She marries Bob Vance, of Vance for Refrigeration, and is a fairly reasonable person who can get a bit competitive with other women.
That seemed to shut her up.
Phyllis Smith wasn't an actress before the show, but was in fact working as a casting assistant feeding lines to auditioning actors when it was realised she was the character.
I wonder what people like about me. Probably my jugs.
There's Stanley, weary and not taking any of Michael's guff.
Did I stutter?
He's also a serial adulterer and has some health issues, which may or may not have been caused by Dwight's attempts at fire safety.
Did you learn that on the streets? Sorry.
Oh, it's okay. I did learn it on the streets. On the ghetto, in fact.
No kidding.
It's all about my bonus.
Stanley just gets on with the job and finds the constant distractions an impediment to leaving on time.
You're a nice guy, Jim, but you have no idea how to vacation. Find some Kenny Loggins.
Loggins and Messina.
Did I say Messina?
Meredith, middle-aged party girl, single mother and alcoholic, each trait possibly explaining the other two.
Don't fall in love with me, kid.
She's an extreme character. Meredith sleeps with a paper supply to get steak dinners and discounts for Dunder Mifflin.
No.
Meredith, too far!
Damn it, Meredith, where are your panties?
It's casual day.
Oscar is an initially closeted accountant who eventually is outed by Michael in the most Michael way possible.
Yes, I am super cool. I am an accountant at a failing paper supply company in Scranton. Much like Sir Ian McKellen.
Oscar is part of a chorus of reason.
That's what he says? Damn it!
He's always the logical, educated point of view, which as the series wears on becomes Oscar is an annoying know-all.
Oscar, I must be killing you now that Michael is smarter than you.
He's not smarter than me. He was just right about one thing.
Angela, an uptight cat lover who's uninterested in anything fun, despite defining herself by her position on the party planning committee.
Phyllis, I need you to pick up green streamers at lunch.
I thought you said green was whorish.
No, orange is whorish.
I mean, I usually try to take leave when I get a new cat, but I'm out of vacation days. And this company still doesn't recognize cat maternity.
She has an ongoing thing with Dwight that is fairly twisted, exemplified by their contract to procreate.
Dwight recently entered into a contract with me, establishing intent to conceive and raise a child with me. Did he not tell you that?
You're really putting me in an awkward position here.
She eventually marries a state senator.
Robert seems great. He's very handsome, firm handshake, he's gay, good sense of humor.
Mis amigos latinos, yo soy homosexual.
Who has an affair with Oscar, but she always comes back to Dwight.
We done good in there, half pint.
That was the last time, Dwight. I mean it.
Monkey.
No, I have a fiance I very much like. They were sold out of all the other costumes, okay?
Kevin is one of the few background characters that you can recognise from the UK office. Like Big Keith, Kevin mainly lurks around in the background, ready to say something naive, stupid, or lecturous, but in a fairly endearing way.
I like to bring in some of my Kevin's famous chili.
Kevin plays drums in various police cover bands like Scrantonicity or Scrantonicity 2, and it must be said, he has a gambling problem.
I suck.
He soon morphs into a simpleton talking like the Cookie Monster.
At first, I thought, oh, she has a new bra with padding. But then I thought, Pam doesn't need padding. It just didn't add up, Jim.
Because Occasionally, you need somebody even more clueless than Michael Scott.
Nobody's ever let me sit on their lap before.
All right, just say some toys, please.
Can you give me some? Kevin, come on.
Craig Robinson plays Darryl, the warehouse manager trying to keep the salespeople from destroying the warehouse.
Mike, this is barely more than I make. You've been here 10 years, dog.
No, please.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mike. Some more folks got to hear about this one.
He eventually moves up to the sales floor to troll Michael, who believes Darryl can teach him more about African American culture.
I taught Mike some phrases to help with his interracial conversations.
Catch you on the flippity flip.
Going Mach 5, dinkin' flicker. You know, things us Negroes say.
Kelly is a celebrity-obsessed Scranton version of a Valley Girl.
Fashion show at lunch. Fashion show at lunch.
Whose infatuation with fellow worker Ryan is as toxic as he is.
6 months ago, Karen Filippelli sent me an email, asked me out. I said no because I was committed to our relationship.
Well, I hope you're still committed because I'm pregnant.
Mindy Kaling was one of the show's writers and gave a very shallow and immature character a surprising amount of depth as she attempts to manipulate Ryan and create drama around their relationship in order to seek attention.
I can't control what I say to people. I spend the whole day talking. I mean, I video chat, I Skype, I text, I tweet, I phone, I woof.
Woof is a site that I'm launching to be the last word in social networking.
BJ Novak was also another one of the show's writers playing a supporting character. Initially, you think Ryan is going to be a less funny version of Jim, reacting to the craziness around him with stunned expressions.
I don't want to have a thing here. You know, I don't want to be the something guy.
He starts off the series as a temp, becomes a mediocre salesman, and is kept on only due to Michael's man crush on him, and then manages to jump to corporate.
I'm not saying I had a meteoric rise, but I did. And if they knew how much I was paying for my haircut now, they wouldn't be giving me a noogie. It was $200.
And then is fired after being charged with fraud.
The real crime, I think, was the beard.
Oh my God, Ryan.
Chastened slightly, he is brought back by Michael.
And you got a goatee.
I did.
Did you get that after you helped me move and you saw mine?
Yes.
Where he tries to start up a number of shady ventures until he's exhausted any goodwill with the rest of the office and put in a cupboard.
Your new office. How great is that, right? For a job well done. Well, not done.
Though his ongoing relationship with Kelly is never anything less than twisted.
You know what? This actually isn't amicable at all, and we actually do need people to take sides. Who's on my side?
And who is on my side?
There's Toby from HR, who, while being a pill is in his job description, is the only person in the office actively hated by Michael, even when Toby's trying to help him.
Michael's like a movie on a plane. You know, it's not great, but it's something to watch.
Toby's deadpan, sad sack speech patterns made it hard to take him seriously, even when, in theory, he's the only person in the office who can censure Michael.
You want to hear a lie? I think you're great. You're my best friend.
Comedian Paul Lieberstein, who drolls his way through the series as Michael's nemesis, also wrote a large number of episodes and eventually became co-showrunner for several seasons, and would have helmed the attempted spin-off series featuring Dwight.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
And Creed.
Just pretend like we're talking until the cops leave.
Creed is hard to explain.
Really, what do I do here? I should have written it down. Qua something.
He's just there for some incredibly dark deadpan humor.
It's Halloween. That is really, really good timing.
Creed Bratton is played by Creed Bratton, who was a background extra floating around Hollywood for years when he was placed in the Office background as a day player. When Michael had to fire someone on Halloween and he tried to fire Creed, the real Creed stepped up and all of a sudden he became a viewer favorite, getting more and more outlandish non sequiturs throughout the series' run.
Unfortunately, in this ham-fisted production of Sweeney Todd, the real terror comes from the vocal performances. New paragraph.
At the start of the series, Jan Levinson is Michael's sophisticated boss. She barely tolerates Michael's antics, but she's not as on top of her life as it first appears.
Why is this so hard? That's what she said. Oh my God, what did I say?
And her relationship with Michael is as uncomfortable to watch as it is hilarious.
And you said that you wanted me to have a vasectomy. What did I do? When you said that you might want to have kids and I wasn't so sure, who had the vasectomy reversed? And then when you said you definitely didn't want to have kids, who had it reversed back?
Representing corporate interests for much of the series is David Wallace. You think he's the hard-nosed businessman, but he's actually a softie.
What do you think are your greatest strengths as a manager? Why don't I tell you what my greatest weaknesses are?
In the real world, Scranton branch would have been closed down in episode 2. Andy Bernard, who initially is an angry frat boy who went to an Ivy League school, I don't know which one.
Cornell. You ever heard of it?
I don't understand how someone can have so little self-awareness.
But turns out to be a musical romantic, getting engaged to Angela until her continuing relationship with Dwight is exposed.
Dwight and Angela are having an affair. They've been sleeping together for some time. That was the news. I wanted to let you know.
What?
All right.
He mellows considerably from his first season on the show.
So Michael had a little chat with corporate, and they decided to send me to management training. Anger management, technically.
Basically becoming a hopeless romantic in the latter half of the series, getting himself into an on and off relationship with Erin.
As soon as I heard she wasn't coming back to Scranton, I jumped straight in my car and drove straight down till I hit the ocean. My heart is my map. Turns out Tallahassee is about 200 miles inland.
Andy's not quite the complete clueless idiot Michael is, not as odious as Dwight. He's somewhere in the middle.
Why is my girlfriend here? You never told me you were in high school.
Andy eventually becomes the manager of the Scranton branch in later years, in a way that turns him into Michael Scott Light.
Guys? Stop calling us guys.
I use the word guys a lot when I'm nervous. Guys.
Guys. Stop, please. Stop it.
Before his dreams of stardom override the last vestiges of his common sense.
Maybe we'll get sent to anger management together.
That would actually be cool. I'd love for you to meet some of the guys.
Erin is Pam's replacement at reception, and she's had a tough upbringing that has made her somewhat odd.
What are you doing?
In the foster home, my hair was my room.
Michael initially finds it hard to get a handle on her.
Erin!
2. I got 2. I ate 2 whole apples.
But eventually, she gets caught up in his silly time-wasting schemes and becomes his willing accomplice.
Gabe is awesome. He has accomplished so much, career-wise and height-wise. Thank God he's my boss, because I would not have said yes to a first date.
I am the toilet of this office. I flush away annoying problems so others can keep their hands clean.
After some corporate shenanigans, Wet Fish Gabe comes in as a corporate stooge for hard-ass boss Joe, memorably played by Kathy Bates in occasional appearances.
Michael Scott, what do you know? What?
We met Karen Filippelli when Jim transferred to the Stamford branch.
He's always looking at the camera like this. What is that?
They date briefly, but the relationship doesn't survive much past Pam's public declaration on the beach.
Wait, you're not still interested in him?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Oh, no. I'm just trying to say to you, Jim, and to everyone else in the circle, I guess, is that I miss having fun with you.
After Michael Scott's departure, a search for a new manager takes some time, with a number of candidates vying for the role, before the search committee settles on the enigmatic Robert California.
He creeps me out. But I think he might be a genius.
Though in a weird twist, he immediately convinces Jo Bennett to give him her job as CEO. So then Andy becomes the office manager, ostensibly because Ed Helms' movie career had given him the highest media profile of the remaining cast members as a result of the Hangover movies. Remember them? Me neither. Robert California, as portrayed by James Spader, isn't a comedy character. He's too intense a guy that most people find hard to get a handle on. Unusually for this series, he seems relatively competent, but he makes everyone around him so incredibly uncomfortable.
What could you possibly have found funny in what I said? What was the joke you thought you heard?
Robert California monologues often ended in a barrage of awkward pauses and confused expressions.
I never allow sexual desire to influence a business decision, so I find it best to recuse myself temporarily until I've had a chance to make love.
Spader, however, wasn't a good fit for the way the series was made. His character was an enigma to the other Dunder Mifflin employees and apparently to the series writers.
And I have been with several older men.
How old?
How old? Jinx, buy me some Coke.
A new character played by Catherine Tate, Nellie, was brought into the show for the final year. But again, it was hard to know what to do with a new character and service all of the established characters at the same time. Nellie is very intense, vulnerable, but with a mercenary and evil streak missing from most of the other female characters in the show.
And if you are not out of my office, I'm going to dock your pay $100.
Okay.
Angela? Dock Andy's pay $100. On it!
Her initial nastiness is toned down almost completely by the middle of that last season.
I just remembered I kissed that man.
And finally we had these two guys, Clark and Pete. They pop up in the last season. They're initially introduced as new Dwight and new Jim as a joke. But this is not that far from the truth, since it was hoped that The Office might be an ongoing series that would continue even with heavy cast turnover.
Wait, hold on. Where's the band? Because there's no way you guys are making this magic with just your mouths.
Why, am I overdoing it?
Clark is less clueless than Dwight, and rather than mercenary, he's a bit sleazy. While Pete has about as much character as a photographic cutout of an accountant, and is basically there to flirt with Erin.
Phillies fan though, right? You mean horses?
No.
Holly Flax only appears in a small number of episodes, but quickly becomes the love of Michael's life.
But Michael is actually killing it with Holly. And I think I know why. It's because Holly is kind of a major dork.
Let's get ethical.
Holly tries to balance the seriousness of her job with her natural goofy tendencies.
That's what she said.
She and Michael are perfect together, and it's heartbreaking when they're separated.
He has this undeniable animal magnetism. He's a jungle cat. The man exudes sex. He can put both his legs behind his head.
Even after they have broken up, he still pines for her, and she clearly has feelings for him.
I'm really looking forward to sitting down with you and finding out more about what you do here.
Anytime.
Yeah. What do you do here?
We'll continue this in part 2, where we look at how the show evolved, and the storylines and relationships that unfolded over 9 seasons. Click on the link to part 2, and if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, leave a comment below, or check out some of our other videos.